Okay, good evening. My name is Margaret Hefferly. I'm the chair of the statewide Family Support Council #1, which is what serves Sussex County, Warren County, and Morris County. And this is our regular meeting time. We're always the third Tuesday of the month. And tonight we have a speaker who's going to do a presentation on Project Lifesaver. And then afterwards, we're going to hang around for questions and answers, and then we can do a little more of our council work. So anyone's welcome to stay on because we'd like to answer your questions and see how we might be able to help. I'm thinking maybe we'll just do a quick round of introductions right before we do the presentation. So Kyoko, if you don't mind, I'll call you out.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kyoko Koko. I'm the Family Support Coordinator at New Jersey Council on Developmental Disabilities.
Gabrielle?
Hi, everyone. I'm Gabrielle Bohan. I'm Vice Chair of Region 1, and I have a 25-year-old daughter with Down syndrome.
Laura?
I'm Laura Suharski. I am from Morris County, Region 1, and I have a 23-year-old son with a rare genetic syndrome who requires full-on care and has pretty complicated medical situation. So we've seen a lot of the state's resources at its best.
Alicia?
Hi, I'm Alicia Teto, and I'm a member of Region 1 Council. I have a almost 39-year-old daughter who lives in an apartment attached to our house with 24/7 supervision. And I'm also a support coordinator. That's it.
Melissa? Oops, sorry.
Hello, I'm Melissa Acree. I'm a member of Region 1 Council. I have a 25-year-old son with autism. He lives in an apartment with supports. And that's it.
Okay, and Michael?
Hi, hi, I'm Michael Bertram. I'm a member of Council 1. I have a 27-year-old daughter whose chromosome deletion has given her intellectual disabilities.
And Mercedes.
Everybody, Mercedes Witowski. I am mom to Tina. Tina is 34. Just this past weekend, she was just enrolled in the community care program after being on the waiting list for many, many, many years in the sports program. Unfortunately, what triggered that was a reconstructive skull surgery that she needed about a month ago, and I just couldn't do it all anymore. So yes, yay me, yay Tina. I'm also happen to be the executive director at the New Jersey Council on Developmental Disabilities, but that's my day job. My full-time job is mom to Tina.
Great. And then so those are our council members. And then Peg, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Peg Zukowski. I have two sons who are disabled. One is in a residential program and the other one, is still living at home with us. And one is 44 and the other is 45.
And finally, Darlene.
Hello, everyone. I'm a guest from Council 4, just chiming in to get good information, which I appreciate very much. And my daughter's in the background, so I apologize. I'm going to put myself on mute.
Okay, I hear you. Okay, and finally, but last but not least, Ashley Craig, Officer Craig, is with the Morris County Sheriff's Department. She's going to tell us about Project Lifesaver.
Absolutely. Are you guys ready for a little bit of a presentation?
Yep.
All right, awesome. I don't know if I can click on this. Oh, can I? Okay, never mind. There we go. So my name is Officer Ashley Craig. I have been with the Morris County Sheriff's Office for about 7 years. I've been in the community outreach and planning section for about 6 of those 7 years. And my favorite program in the Sheriff's Office by far has been Project Lifesaver. We're going to go over the intricacies of the program. I'm going to show you what the band actually looks like. I'm going to tell you how you can get a member of the community set up on the program. And I'll be here for any questions or answers towards the end of the program. But Project Lifesaver, in essence, is a locating program. Okay, so it was started in Morris County in 2003 for adults and 2005 for children. And it was actually started as a national program. It was started in 1999 by the Virginia Search and Rescue Team. The purpose of Project Lifesaver really is to provide a rapid response to locate clients, reduce serious injury, and save lives. The program is in just about every state in the nation. And to date, over 4,000 people have been located and safely returned home using this location equipment. Now, it's important to note that Project Lifesaver is not a GPS system, which means we are not tracking people 24/7, 365. It's actually a radio frequency. If we can go to the next slide. So Project Lifesaver, like I said, is actually in every county in the state of New Jersey except for Passaic County. Passaic County uses a program, a GPS program called Angel Sense. It's a very reliable system, but it is not covered by our grant in Morris County, which is why we could actually offer Project Lifesaver free for all Morris County residents. That includes the actual transmitter itself, as well as the battery changes. So we can offer this program free of charge to any Morris County resident that has any kind of disability that makes them prone to wandering, right? Any kind of disability or cognitive disorder that makes them prone to wandering. The most common cases that we see are Alzheimer's dementia or children with autism, Down syndrome, traumatic brain injuries. We also have some people with Parkinson's, or we actually have one client with Huntington's. So we don't require any kind of doctor's prescription. It is only a diagnosis, and the client does not have to have wandered already, right? They do not have to elope from the house in order to be eligible for the program. It is just a matter of they have a diagnosis which makes them prone to potential elopement or wandering. So I did see one question of, is it available in Somerset County? It is available in Somerset County. We're going to get to the end of the presentation, and I'll be able to give you a website you can go to look up the closest Project Lifesaver agency to your location. All right. So these pictures actually, so on the Project Lifesaver transmitter itself is that small little watch band. It's about the size of an Apple Watch or a Fitbit. It's a plastic case. I actually have one here that I can show you guys. I don't know, can you guys see me actually right now, or can you only see the, okay. You can see me, or you can only see the PowerPoint.
We see both you and the PowerPoint.
Oh, awesome. Okay, that's embarrassing. Anyway, so this is actually the transmitter itself. It's a little plastic case. It's very simple inside, very lightweight. And this is the actual cap of the case, right? So all we have to do is actually put one of these little frequency chips inside. And once we close it, we actually close it with a waterproof lubricant. So once we seal this shut, it's actually waterproof, right? Now, sometimes the case cracks or one of the arms break. Sometimes water gets inside, but for the most part, it's an exceptionally reliable system. And we give you all caregivers as well a battery tester. So I'll explain that as well. But once this cap screws in, we put a hospital grade nylon plastic band just through the loops of the transmitter case. And then we actually put this on the client's wrist or ankle. And what this does is it provides us with something that the client wears 24/7, 365 until we come to change the battery, right? A lot of clients, which is perfectly okay, use AirTags or GPS systems, whether it be a standalone GPS system or a GPS system on a phone. But the problem is if that client finds the air tag or drops the air tag, or they're not wearing the article of clothing that the air tag is attached to, or they don't have their phone on them, the GPS system is not going to be reliable, right? We're going to find that air tag and we're going to find that that phone, but we're not going to necessarily find the client, right? We're still going to search for the client and we're still going to find them, eventually. But this system makes the locating of the client exceptionally faster. All right. So we use we put this on an ankle or a wrist, and then we use the locator system that you see on the slide, right? It looks like a giant antenna, basically. We fold those out, and we put the unique transmitter number that was on that little disc that I put in the case, and we put that right in the system. And if we're within a mile on the ground, we'll get a chirp, right? If for some reason we can't find the client within the first hour that we are looking for the client using this system, we have a memorandum of agreement with the state police that we can actually use their helicopters and drones. So we can go up in the helicopter and use this equipment, or affix the Project Lifesaver locating equipment onto the drone. And we have then our search radius expands by about 5 to 7 miles, right? This is a directional system, right? So again, it's not GPS, but what we train pretty consistently in the tracking of this equipment. And we also, when we train, we don't do it with humans, we do it with this, right? So we do it with only this. We'll hide it in the grass, in a tree. We'll hide it anywhere that is very inconspicuous. And we train to find this. It's much easier to find this when it's attached to a person, right? But that just goes to show how intensely we take our training to make sure that our response time and our locating time is exceptionally quick, right? As quick as can be. Two of our officers, actually, Travis and Laura, they are the trainers for other law enforcement agencies in the state as well for training. So we take it very seriously. We're trained very frequently. And our average response and recovery time from the time that the caregiver calls us to activate the program to the time that we respond and find the client is on average about 13 minutes. The national average for Project Lifesaver is about half an hour. Next slide, please. So I always get ahead of myself in these presentations, but so the Project Lifesaver transmitter itself is about the size of a watch. It weighs probably about as much as a watch, if not less. It's very, very light. Even with a battery in it and the locating the frequency disc, it's very, very light. And like I said, each person is assigned a specific frequency ID. So I don't know if you can see, actually, it's pretty blurry, but like this one, for instance, is 216.369. So that 369 is what we actually put in the transmitter, and that's what gives off the chirp. The louder the chirp and the more frequent the chirp, the closer we are to the actual transmitter itself, and the closer we are to the person. Each tracker, like I said, can be tracked for up to 1 mile on the ground or 5 to 7 miles by helicopter or drone. And we have all the systems in place to activate that helicopter and drone if need be. So how it works, right? It works, right? It's 110% effective. And I always say 110%, as long as the client is wearing the transmitter and the transmitter is operational. Right. So I know that caregiving is a full-time job, right? It's actually 3 full-time jobs. So we don't want to give clients, or caregivers more responsibilities. All we ask with this program is 2 things. And that is that they make sure that this transmitter is on the person every morning, right? Or every night, however it falls into the routine, and that the battery is tested. Okay. So we give clients the transmitter, we put the band on the client, and then we give the caregivers this little battery tester. So we ask them every day at some point in the routine just to make sure this is on the client's ankle or wrist, and then put this little black box right next to the transmitter. And when it blinks red, it means the battery is working, which means the transmitter is operational, right? The system is exceptionally reliable and very durable. But like I said, sometimes whether a case cracks or an arm breaks, this is kind of a backup, right? If we test this every day and make sure the transmitter is operational, we will be able to track the person using this equipment. If this equipment is not on the person, right, or we put this black battery tester up to the transmitter and it's not working, we will still execute a Project Lifesaver search, but we will not be able to get the signal from the transmitter. So that's the two responsibilities of the caregivers per day for the Project Lifesaver program. We also give spreadsheets and brochures, just about the caregiver responsibilities, because we know this is a lot of information. But again, just really two really important things. If the transmitter is on the person and the battery is working, the equipment will work 100% of the time. And this really helps us just reduce the search time and greatly increase the chances of us finding your loved one and the person who has eloped or wandered, and returning them home safely, but also very quickly. So, like I said, caregiver responsibilities: check the battery every day, make sure that the client is wearing the transmitter. We give you that spreadsheet to help you with tracking the fact that we check the battery every day and make sure it's on to the client. But that spreadsheet also has lines that allow us or allow you to write in what your loved one is wearing that day, right? This is huge. I know some people, especially people with Alzheimer's dementia, they do change quite frequently throughout the day. So this is kind of just a benchmark, right? It's just to help us out. If there's something that your loved one wears every day, it becomes exceptionally important. This actually came to light in a recent Morris County missing call, in which the gentleman loved to wear purple fedoras. Right. So he would wander relatively frequently, but he would always have his purple fedora on. So if we know that, and we got to know him very well, and we do get to know our families very well just from going to see them once a month to change the batteries. But we had gotten the call as soon as we got in the car. The 911 dispatch center had said, this gentleman is this age, this weight, this height. He's wearing, we believe, khaki pants and a blue shirt, but he's also definitely wearing a purple fedora. That became, something that in our minds, as we're responding as law enforcement, we have our equipment out, but we're also making sure that we look for that purple fedora. And that was, they found the local police department found him within 3 minutes, because they saw a gentleman matching the description wearing a purple fedora walking down the main street in their town. So they were able to bring him home safely before we were even able to arrive, right? So that's why the writing down what the loved one is wearing during the day can be very helpful. And again, we give that at the sheriff's office in Morris County. We give that spreadsheet to you just for your aid, right? The transmitter is completely waterproof and should be worn 24/7, right? This is huge because we never know when our loved ones might elope. Okay, so if the client is not wearing the transmitter, we will find the transmitter, but it will not be on them, which means we will not find them, right? I have some clients who like to cut them off, some clients who, I actually had one client who did not want to wear it when he turned 18, so he flushed 8 of these down the toilet. So we work through obstacles, right? We do not charge for our program. Like I said, the only time we would charge for our program is if the equipment gets repeatedly, maliciously damaged or lost, right? If this band breaks and it falls off the client, we actually can track the transmitter based on where the client last was when they had it on, right? So if they go to a school or a day program, or they were in their home, and the caregiver wakes up and says, oh, it was on them last night, but I don't see it today, we'll retrace their steps and we'll use the equipment to find the transmitter. We work with our clients to schedule battery changes. So the initial setup takes about 45 minutes, and we go over the intricacies of the program. We, talk to the caregiver, we talk to the client, and then we also install the band on an ankle or a wrist based on caregiver and client preference, right? So whether they want an ankle or a wrist, we'll put it on for them. And when we leave there, we take a picture and then we put it up on the Project Lifesaver International database. That is only law enforcement sensitive information per jurisdiction, which means I can only see Morris County, New Jersey clients, and Morris County, Ohio can only see Morris County, Ohio clients, right? But what this allows us to do is anybody who's on the road at that time who has access to that client database, and only a handful of officers do, we can pull up address, pictures, height, weight, diagnosis. We also, what we do with the sheriff's office is we ask if the client has any de-escalation, topics, right? One of my clients loves Thomas the Train. So if we know that we get a missing call for him, the first thing we're doing when we make contact is talking about what he wants to talk about, what calms him down, what de-escalates the situation very quickly. We had a missing call in July of 2 years ago, in which the client had eloped from a caregiver in a state park in Pequannock. That client was gone for about 3 hours. It was an exceptionally mountainous terrain. So we had that town, we had state police, we had members of the sheriff's office patrol function, canine function, our function, and we were able to hike up to the tallest point in that state park, and we were able to get a signal. We followed the signal right down the mountain. Within about 3 minutes from the time we got the signal we had hands on the missing, and we were able to de-escalate very quickly by saying, what do you, he loved the beach and he loved his mom and dad. So we said, why don't we go see mom and dad, right? And why don't we go to the beach? You love the beach. Why don't we go to the beach? And he followed us right out of the woods onto an ATV so we could extricate him to his parents, to mom and dad. So these are just examples of what we go through in the application process, what we talk to clients and caregivers about when we meet with them at home. And then just going back to the battery changes, we have a whole database when our battery changes are due. So we will call you and we will schedule a time that works for you and your family to come to the residence or the school and change the battery. The battery changes take at most 5 to 10 minutes, and it's just dependent on if the client has sensory issues, right? Sometimes I have one client who asks me every time, who refuses to let me take the band off of her because she's afraid I'm going to ask for money. So it's just about talking to that person, de-escalating, and going from there. A lot of my kids, especially when I walk into the school, they're putting out their ankle or their wrist because they know what I'm there for, right? Our clients become our families, 110%. So it's great for us. It gives us peace of mind. It gives the caregiver peace of mind, and it ensures the client's safety. When we set up the client on the program, we give activation sheets, right? An activation sheet is a sheet of information that says Project Lifesaver, right, in bold in the top, and it also gives our emergency number for activation. This transmitter cannot be activated by button press. It's not a life alert. It's not a fall alert, right? We will not know if the client goes missing unless someone activates us. So that means that someone has to be with that client or living with that client, right? We don't allow anybody who drives on our program because if someone gets in the car and drives 5, 6, 7 miles, 10 miles, 15 miles, we'll still search for them, but this program will be obsolete because we go by last known location and we can only track for about a mile at a time, right? We also require that they live with somebody or that there is a camera in the house that, in which a caregiver can see if the client goes missing, right? So we have a lot of caregivers who have parents that have Alzheimer's, dementia, or older children, which is perfectly acceptable and perfectly fine. If someone's checking in with them every day, if there's a caregiver in the house, if they have anybody coming in to do any kind of nursing or assistance, or if they live with you but you have a job, during the day, that is perfectly okay. We just ask that you have some way to see and make sure that they're where they're supposed to be, right? And we also say that we don't want you to wait more than 5 minutes to activate us. We would much rather be canceled, right? Because the client is taking a nap or the client was sitting in the car in the garage without the keys, right? Then wait, a prolonged period of time before we start our search, right? The quicker we can get on scene and turn those trackers on, the faster we'll be able to locate the client and bring them home safely. And lastly, and this is a panic situation, but if the client goes to the hospital, we do ask that they take the band off, right? You can cut this plastic band off, but sometimes, or a lot of the times, right? Most of the time, when a client goes to the hospital will discard the transmitter as medical waste. So either we have to try and locate the transmitter in the dumpsters or the garbage, or we have to just buy another transmitter, which is perfectly fine. It happens. We know obviously that's an emergency situation, but that is the only time that we'd have the caregiver actually remove the band from the client. So like I said before, we are really, really lucky that in Morris County, Officer Simonsma, she actually does all the grants for us. So she applies for a statewide grant that allows us every year to purchase new equipment and batteries and bands, transmitters, tracking equipment, free of charge, right? So there will never be a charge to our clients in Morris County for this program. The transmitters run about $350. A pack of batteries, which lasts about 4 to 8 months, depending on the type of transmitter, is about $5. And then the bands are about $1 a piece. The trackers themselves are about $3,500 to $4,000. We currently have, I believe, 12 trackers in the sheriff's office, as well as we have hundreds of transmitters, hundreds of batteries, hundreds of bands. We currently have about 165 clients on the program throughout Morris County, and that number ebbs and flows as people come on and off the program. The only county that Project Lifesaver is not in New Jersey is Passaic County. And again, they do have a wandering program. It is called Angel Sense, but that is a GPS system that must come on and off every day to be charged. It is not waterproof either, but that is absolutely a system that you can recommend to your clients. The average national search time and recovery time for Project Lifesaver is 30 minutes. The Morris County Sheriff's Office Project Lifesaver recovery time is 13 minutes. So I just took a screenshot. If you go on projectlifesaver.org, okay, and you go to locate a Project Lifesaver agency, and you type in a zip code, every Project Lifesaver agency within a certain radius, depending on how you toggle the settings, will come up, right? So I just put in, obviously, Morristown's zip code, and right away we come up, you know, as the closest agency. All the red dots that you see on the map of New Jersey, those are all of the Project Lifesaver agencies in or around New Jersey, right? There are over 90 Project Lifesaver agencies in the state of New Jersey. So that means that if you travel to the shore or you travel literally anywhere in the state, there's most likely going to be coverage, so that if you're traveling, we can contact the agency, down by the shore and say, hey, this person and their families will be traveling to this location, right? We'll give them a specific address during these days. The caregiver has been instructed to call 911 if that client goes missing. So, the coverage area is immense. That also goes for out of state, right? A lot of our clients like to travel down to North and South Carolina or Florida or California. There are Project Lifesaver agencies in every state. We can't guarantee 100% coverage everywhere in the country. Some agencies are just too far away to be able to give us the thumbs up to be able to provide the coverage. But I would say probably 90% of the time, if you're traveling out of state, give us a heads up, right? Send us an email, give us a call. We'll be able to look up that location and see if there's an agency that would be willing to cover while you're on vacation. That way, it just takes all of the worry away, right? It's peace of mind wherever you are, which is awesome. So if you're in Morris County or you know anybody in Morris County, they can go to the Morris County Sheriff's Office website. Under the Project Lifesaver tab, there's actually an online application that can be filled out. It is not our application. It is Project Lifesaver International's application, but we require that for enrollment to the program. There's a contract at the end, but again, it's Project Lifesaver's contract, and then it's just authorizing us to put the client on the program. It also states different information as far as battery changes, right? Provided free of charge, the transmitter provided free of charge, as well as if the authorized representative who is applying to put the client on the program wants the client taken off the program, we will do that as soon as possible, right? We just ask that the transmitter and the battery tester get returned once the client is off the program for any reason. You can also contact our office on 973-285-6681 if you're in Morris County and you would like to ask more questions about the program. And mostly sheriff's offices in New Jersey are the coordinators of the Project Lifesaver program. But if you need any help locating an agency, you can use the link on the previous slide, or you can give us a call. We'd be happy to assist you in finding the closest Project Lifesaver agency to your jurisdiction. And that's it. So do we have any questions, comments, concerns?
I have a question. So I deal with a lot of families. I wish I knew about this program when my son was young, because he was an escape artist.
Yes.
It was bad. Anyway, so a lot of families say, my kid's going to take that thing off.
Yes.
Is there a way you can work with them, or can they take it off relatively easily?
Absolutely. So the only way that this can come off is if it's cut. Now, obviously, there's many things that, can cut this. But what I tell all my kids is I'll go in and I'll sit down with them, and, whether they're nonverbal, whether there's so many different ranges of clients that we have, right? We have clients that are completely verbal. We have clients that are completely nonverbal. We have clients who truly believe it's 1940 and, think that their husband or wife aren't their husband or wife, right? And those were awful examples, but I'm just trying to think of the range of clients that we have. But for my younger clients, I go in and I tell them that it's their superpowers, right? I will put the battery in, and when I go to set up a new client, I'll say, okay, you have to wear this because this is your superpowers. And you're going to test your superpowers every day. And when I go to change the battery, I'm going to say, okay, I have to change the battery so that we can re-strengthen your superpowers. And a lot of my younger clients really enjoy that. I also ask that the caregivers give me a 2-week adjustment period, right? For my older adults and my younger kids, right? Give me 2 weeks, because even with sensory issues, right? If we can just keep it on them for 2 weeks, a lot of the times that's the trick. We've had clients that come on the program and it just doesn't work, and that is totally okay. But I would say that I truthfully 98% of the clients that we get on the program, if they just wear it for 2 weeks, it kind of just becomes part of their daily routine and daily outfit, right? I tell a lot of the older clients that we have, their caregivers, whether it be a husband, a wife, a son, a daughter, a parent, right? There's resistance to wearing, the band. We actually say, be proactive, right? Call us, when they're initially diagnosed, because then we can explain to them exactly why we're doing it. And then it doesn't become as hard for them to keep it on. But if they are in the later stages of dementia or Alzheimer's, we tell them it's a medical device, right? And I don't do that without permission of the caregiver, but we'll tell them it's a medical device that their doctor ordered, and that usually is something that they will allow. There's another question.
Hi.
I can get
Oh, I'm sorry, Margaret. Did you want to talk?
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, my question is, will this work if you have somebody that's living in a group home and not living with the guardian?
Yeah, so basically what we have to do is we cannot do nursing homes, but we can do group homes. It's the nursing homes that we don't allow just because it's not covered under the grant. And the nursing homes, a lot of them have different systems in which, whether it's a magnet, the doors lock based on a magnet that's in a bracelet that they wear. So nursing homes have a lot of programs. Group homes we can allow, as long as there's somebody that's there that can let us know that they've wandered.
Thank you.
Of course.
That's good to know.
It's funny, I was just thinking that, a lot of agencies like Autism New Jersey and whatever have started hiring law enforcement officers to talk about, situations that arise. And POAC, Parents of Autistic Children, have an emergency form you can, have with your local law enforcement. But I would think that this would be a good way that someone could interact with law enforcement in a positive way, so that they wouldn't be quite fearful when approached by somebody.
Absolutely. And there are clients too. We have 2 twin boys that are terrified of law enforcement for some reason. So we will make sure that when we do our battery changes, that we do them in plain clothes. So we work with our clients, to ensure that everyone is comfortable, everyone is safe, everyone's happy. This is by no means meant to be anything that's scary or traumatizing in any way.
Hi, so I appreciate the explanation and the 2-week kind of adjustment period, right? So let's give this a try, because typically, 2 weeks will assume is like the reprogramming of something, if you will. However, if that doesn't, if a 2-week period comes to an end and it doesn't seem to be working, have you made any other addressed having that device, for example, someone uses a wheelchair and only uses a wheelchair to ambulate and go anywhere. They're not, walking independently. Have you considered or tried to affix it to something that the person will have with them, at least, if not all the time, a majority of the time, to help locate someone? Is that something that you've done or you're open to?
Absolutely. So it's going to be on a case by case basis. We can't, like, for instance, we can't tell a client, okay, put this on a necklace and, or put it in your pocket, right? We've had some people say, oh, I'm going to put it on their shoe. We can't advocate for that, right? We have to advocate first for putting on an ankle or a wrist. But we have had cases absolutely in which we have one gentleman who carries a keychain with him, and it is literally always on, the gentleman. So we have it on his keys. Again, the only problem with that is that if he doesn't bring those keys that day, we're going to find the keys. We're not going to find him, right? Using the equipment, rather, I should say. So we are completely open, and we do have cases in which we will affix it to certain things that the client is almost guaranteed to have, but it is not something that we rely on because, again, it's just not a surefire way of making sure that we can find them.
And are all counties trained in that approach?
I can't speak for all counties. I can only speak for the Morris County Sheriff's Office, only because the three of us have been in here I've been in here for 6 years. Laura's been in here for 13 years, and Travis has been in here for 10 years. So we go to the POAC trainings, we go to Autism Speak trainings. We again become, family with our clients. So we have, a wider range of experience just because we've been in the unit for so long. So I don't know if that's how other counties are trained. And I don't know if that is how Project Lifesaver allows us to have the program, because we buy all of the equipment from the program. We're trained in Project Lifesaver. We're told it must be on an ankle or a wrist, but we are definitely willing to bend that to ensure that the person is the safest they can be.
So probably best to have that, if an individual is not in Morris County, to have them coordinate that discussion with the county that they're in, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If someone's in Passaic, but they would prefer to participate in this program over what Passaic offers, does another county pick that up, or is it strictly their standalone program in Passaic?
It's strictly the standalone program. Just because for response purposes, we're only allowed to respond to Morris County. So for instance, if we set up a person in Passaic County, but Passaic County doesn't have any equipment to track that person, it's kind of obsolete in that regard.
I know that we're lucky here in Morris County that there is no cost, because I know that's not the case in all of the other counties.
Absolutely.
Thank
We are
goodness.
very, very grateful that we have that grant. We've had the grant for plenty of years now. I mean, a majority of years that we've had the program, and that has been exceptionally helpful in getting clients who might not otherwise be able to be on the program. So we are exceptionally grateful to be able to have that, the ability to not charge for the program. Absolutely. And then we also do community outreach. We do presentations like this. We go to different meetings or different events. We were just at the Josiah's Warriors walk in Roxbury this past weekend. So we're always willing to support and always willing to do everything we possibly can to get our clients on the program, just to offer that peace of mind and that safety. We also do host a barbecue every year for all the caregivers and clients to come to. So the sheriff's office, with that grant money, anything that's extra that doesn't go towards the equipment, will go to that picnic, so that we can get everybody together in a safe location, have fun activities, and just kind of spend time with them. Any other questions, comments, concerns? So I thank you guys so much for allowing me to ramble through this presentation. I'm not used to the online forum, so I apologize for any rambles or fast speaking. But if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, my name is Ashley. I'm in the Community Outreach and Planning section of the Morris County Sheriff's Office. You can reach me at email. You can reach me by phone, and I'll happily put that in the chat for you guys. So if you have any questions or need any direction, I'd be happy to help you out with that.
Thank you so much. You did a great job. I
Thank you
learned
so
a
It
much.
lot.
sounds like an amazing program.
Thank you. It definitely
I'm
is. It
glad that
definitely
I
is.
don't need it, but I
Oh God, I
I
can
have a
just
list of
regale.
clients.
You never know,
Probably.
Alicia. You never know when we're going to need it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that is true.
I
Exactly.
could tell you a story of how my son got away on a bike without a helmet with training wheels. He was too old for it, and the police saw him go by, and supposedly yelled at him, because later we found out that they did. And this was on Martha's Vineyard, and they actually said, "Okay, well, we can tell you that we notified all the ferries, so he's not getting off by boat."
Yes.
And eventually, we found him, and he biked like 3 miles. It was crazy. He was
Oh
like
my goodness.
7.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's absolutely terrifying. One more tip that I'll just let you guys know, and I don't know if you guys know this already. I know that someone had mentioned an emergency form that POAC offers for law enforcement response. A lot of my clients ask what they can do to let their local police department know, like, that some of the behaviors that their child or their loved one might exhibit might not be quote unquote normal behavior, right? And I always tell them, please call your law enforcement agency, right? We have a CAD system. So if we get a call for a certain location, right? Like, I know that if I'm going to this home, right, a young man or woman might have autism or Down syndrome, or, I'm going to a place in which someone has Alzheimer's dementia. But your average officer might not know if you don't let them know. So you can call your local police department and just give them a heads up, like, hey, just so you know, my 3-year-old has autism and loves to hide when there's loud noises, right? And that helps us in that moment. So there's a fire, say there's any kind of disaster, any kind of emergency at that location, it'll automatically pop up on the computers in our cars or over the radio that there's somebody living in that home who has a specific disability. And that'll just help us respond better, because then we'll know, what we're coming into contact, who we're coming into contact with, as well as, okay, we know this juvenile hides, we know this older person doesn't like law enforcement, we know all of these things, so it just helps us in that emergency situation respond better. So you can do that to any law enforcement agency. You can just call the non-emergency number. Please don't call 911 or the emergency number, but you can call the non-emergency number and just let them know that, what's going on. That way we know what we're going into when we respond.
Right. And you can get that form on POAC's website. And then, you can say, exactly that he might scream,
Absolutely.
something from Thomas
De-escalation.
or something.
Exactly. De-escalation techniques are huge. That's, and especially we know, just from our clients, and I know that you guys know so much better that when the clients hit that hormone stage of puberty, right? There's a lot of different emotions, and sometimes they can't express themselves the way they want to. So if we know that going into it, right, we get a 911 call for, someone who is yelling, screaming, hitting, punching, our brains go to a certain kind of response, right? You have to be firm as law enforcement officers in that situation. But if we know that we're going into that call with someone who has a disability, that's going to be we're going to go into it so much differently than we would just your average domestic call, for instance, right? So that's just my 2 cents, but I just wanted to let you guys know that you guys are more than welcome to do that at any point.
All right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of course. I put my contact information in the chat, but if you guys ever need anything, let me know, okay?
All right.
Thank you
Thanks,
very much.
Ashley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Thank you
care.
guys so much.
Take care.